What's up, guys, and welcome to the AfterYouth Podcast, the podcast for young adults by young adults. I'm your host, Josh Cave, and today I'm tackling the greatest challenge facing young adults. So let's dive in. Hey guys, so today I'm by myself sharing a topic with you. I've spent a lot of time thinking about how to go about episodes where I'm by myself and we're changing it up a little bit. Usually, I get to have a conversation with a co-host or a guest, but when it's just me here, this is a conversation between me and you. And so today I want to talk about the greatest challenge facing young adults. I sat back and I thought about a lot of conversations I've had with young adults, different things we've discussed. There's so many challenges during this time, emotional, physical, financial. There's so many things that come up. But the greatest challenge I believe that is facing young adults is becoming an adult. This, by definition, is that transitional period. It's that time where we become adults. We go from kids living in our parents' house to full-fledged adults. And so today I want to talk about that challenge. Becoming an adult is difficult, but maybe you've done a really good job of it. Maybe you're paying your bills, you're out on your own, you're doing all the right things. You could be doing an incredible job, but the transition into adulthood can still be really difficult. The reason it's so difficult is because you go from having not a lot of freedom as a kid. Everybody makes decisions for you, and you go from that to all the freedom in the world. Every decision you make, everything you do is your own. And that's a whole new thing, and there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. So I want to make an example real quick, and maybe this is kind of a silly, maybe stupid example, but I thought about like a lion cub. They're out in Africa, and there's so many dangers in Africa that we know about. Especially if it's just a lion cub, anything could come up and take it away, try to kill it, try to stop it while it's young. And there's so many things out there, but they don't seem to worry. The lion cub just goes about its life. And according to Madagascar too, they play with butterflies and everything else, and they're not worried about what's going on around them. Why? Because their parents are there to take care of all the dangers. That lion cub can run and frolic, and the lion cub can do whatever it wants because it knows that its parents are there to take care of any other problem that comes up. It's like the dangers aren't even there. There's no pressure. There's no pressure for the next meal. They're not going out to hunt, They can kind of live their lives. But when that lion grows up and all of a sudden the parent is out of the picture, all of the pressure is on that lion. They go from having no pressure at all. There's no worry, there's no stress, to all of a sudden all the pressure's on them. If they don't go and find food to eat, they die. They die of starvation. All of a sudden there's pressure of the dangers around. Just out of nowhere, there's all of this pressure. And all of a sudden, whether the lion lives or dies is based on what it does. Nothing else is around to protect it or to help. And that's kind of what happens to us. I mean, obviously, it's kind of a silly example, but whenever we're kids, we don't have to worry about dangers or pressure or how we're going to eat, hopefully. All we have to worry about is playing and living our lives. Whenever I was a kid, I didn't know about financial issues my parents may or may not have been dealing with. I just got to live my life as a kid. But whenever we turn 18, some of that starts to change. We go off to college and there's some pressure. College doesn't necessarily put on 100% of the pressure of life, but then we go out on our own. Whenever we go out on our own, we're paying the bills. We've got to get our own food. We've got to make choices for our future. We're deciding who we're going to marry. There's all this pressure of life. Literally, our entire future is on our shoulders. All of a sudden, who we are is on us. I believe that is the most challenging part of being a young adult, is trying to handle that pressure. I want to tell you real quick when that pressure really came on to me. Yeah, there were a couple of times as an early young adult, as a late teen, that I had some pressure. I had some things going on. For example, I rented a house with a couple of guys when I was 19 or 20. And that put a lot of pressure. All of a sudden I'm having to pay bills that I didn't have to pay before, and some different things like that. And I youth pastored at a church at the age of 19. That put a lot of pressure. But in both of those situations, I knew that at any point I could bail out and my family would be there. My parents would let me back in their house if something happened. The big moment that I felt a lot of pressure was when I got married. Before I got married, I was, living with my parents. Molly and I seriously started dating and preparing to get married. I started to have to step up. There were weekends where I would drive over to Alabama and work on the house and things like that. And I was going over there almost every weekend, helping out in some ways financially. And there was a lot that I was trying to do, and I had to step up in a big way so that we were ready for marriage. We were ready to move into that house and everything else. But truly, whenever I said I do, everything changed. My responsibility was no longer just to myself. I had to take care of another person. I had to take care of her financially. It wasn't just what I wanted to buy anymore. It was what we needed. Emotionally, things changed. It wasn't just, if I had a bad day, I could carry it home and it didn't really matter. I could go up to my room and block everybody out. But now it mattered how I brought it home. And so all of a sudden there's all this pressure of, having to provide, having to take care of this other person too. But also as a man, you become a security in some ways. And that's not to say Molly can't handle herself. I make that clear. She can absolutely handle herself. But as a man and as a husband, there is a protective aspect of that. If there's a noise at 2 a.m, Molly's not going to get up and go look for it. That's my job, scared or not. But whenever we got married, there was a lot of pressure. And it was different. It was new. But it was no different than what so many of us go through. We live our lives in our parents' house, and everything is kind of taken care of for us. Whenever that young adult age hits, everything's a little different. We have to make decisions for ourselves. We have to go out, we have to make smart financial decisions. But I believe I'm not the only person that's experienced this. From talking to a lot of young adults and knowing many of them, I believe this is the struggle of independent young adults. Like, there are thousands and thousands in the United States every year that go and they move out and live on their own, and they face these challenges for the first time where their entire life is on them now. I believe that transition into adulthood and the struggle of that independence, I believe it's the struggle of many young adults. And it's the fear of those that live with their parents. For those that are out on their own, they're dealing with that struggle. They're facing that pressure and they understand it. But for those that live at home, that pressure and knowing that pressure is out there, it's something that they're afraid of. And for some, it might be a reason why they live at home, is because that jump is kind of scary. And I don't want to talk about this like it's all doom and gloom. That's probably what it sounds like, but it's really not, because I believe pressure is the best thing that can happen to a person. And first, real quick, I want to talk to somebody who's out there, that you're out of your parents' house, you're living on your own, and you're paying your bills and everything else. I want to start off by offering my congratulations. You're chasing independence, you're working hard, and you're succeeding. You're doing something that's very difficult to do. And if you find yourself overwhelmed about the pressure and and you're worried about the future, just breathe. Keep working hard, doing what you're doing. I have a huge amount of respect for young adults that are out there living on their own and handling their own finances because it's a big deal. According to a study I found in young adults age 18 to 24 years old, 52% of those people are still living with their parents. And that's not to knock those living with their parents. I understand that too. I was in that category for a long time. But I want to tell you, if you're out of your parents' house, you're in the minority that aren't. You're out there. You're doing something incredible. You're doing what 52% of other young adults have yet to do. And there is a lot of pressure. There's a lot going on, and there probably will be for a little while. But I want to offer you kind of, I don't know if it's a solution, but something that I believe can help you. Find what keeps you motivated. In my life, I have to do the same thing. Even though I'm married and even though I have bills I have to pay, I have to find what keeps me motivated. My job doesn't pay me by the hour, it doesn't pay me a salary. So that commission based, I have to go and work for every penny that I get, and I have to strive to make sure that I make the right amount of money. And I have to remind myself why. Because it's really easy to want to, maybe take a little bit longer lunch or to hang out for a while and to rest a little bit more. But I have to remind myself why I'm there, what I'm motivated by. I focus on what my goals are. I want to be financially free. I want a large savings account. And I want to give my wife and my future kids a great life. And I want to be able to serve God when I'm not at work. I want to have that freedom to not have to work all the time. So maybe you're sitting there in the same boat and you're working, you're doing everything. Maybe your job isn't super satisfying, but you're trying to make ends meet. You're trying to pay the bills. You're trying to do what you have to do. If you know what motivates you, it will change how you work. You're going to work harder. You're going to push. You're going to give it everything you have because you know what the end result should be. And I promise you, if you work hard, I believe that good things happen. You're going to end up reaching some of those goals if you're disciplined to keep doing what you're doing. But again, I just want to congratulate you. You're doing an awesome job. You've been able to do something not a lot of young adults have been able to do. And secondly, if you're in the majority of young adults that are living with your parents, I want to tell you it's okay. I know there's a lot of peer pressure to go and live on your own, and it can be embarrassing to be like, yeah, I still live at home with my parents, but it's okay. Obviously, you're in the majority. It's increasingly common in our culture. So don't feel like you're behind in life, because you're not. There are a lot of young adults living with their parents. And I want to say this, and this is not bashing anybody or anything else, but a lot of those young adults that live with their parents can be afraid of taking that next step. And I get it. I really do. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, like going from no bills or very few bills and turning around and having, a mortgage or having to pay rent or, having to pay utilities, car insurance, health insurance, all these things all at once pile up. And I can understand being afraid to take that next step. But for me, the best way to not fear something is to prepare for it. So go ahead and get a step ahead. Put some money away. If you're working, put some money away every paycheck into savings. It sounds silly. It sounds like something your parents would tell you. But if you have a savings account and it's built up and you can go and then you move out of your parents' house, you're not worried about it. You've got something to fall back on. Yeah. If something happens, you've got a safety net. You don't have to worry so bad. That savings account is going to make you feel more comfortable when you do step out. Find a job that you enjoy and you can also make some money at. Take advantage of not having to pay a bunch of bills at your parents' house. And so you can do something that really means something to you and do that work well. It helps solidify your future. Because right now, you have freedom that you might not have later on. So you can work a job that really means a lot to you, but maybe it doesn't pay enough to pay all the bills that you'll have later. So do something you're passionate about and build a future out of it while you've got this chance. And the pressure that life is going to put on you later, it is a lot. I understand being worried and fearful of it. But when you go out on your own, you're going to be great. You can handle the pressure, whatever life throws at you. Whenever it does throw it at you, you've got this. You've gone through stuff before. I went through stuff before I moved out of my parents' house. Don't live worried about it. Don't live in fear that you're not going to be able to pull it off. I want to tell you, you work hard. You put some money into savings. You do the things that you need to do. And you're going to transition into independence and all of that super smooth. You're going to handle this really well. And obviously, I don't know each individual situation. But I believe that if you're listening to this and you've listened so far, that hopefully you take some of these things to heart and you work hard and you develop a skill and you do these things. Whenever you step out on your own, it's going to work out. You've got this. But before I close out this episode, I want to give just a couple of things for everybody. Hopefully you found a lot of this episode motivational. You know, that it's reminded you that you can do this. Life is going to be hard. It's going to throw curveballs, but you can handle it. And I love motivating. I love motivating myself to push harder. I love pushing other people because I believe in you. Whenever you start worrying and getting caught up in the future and all these things going on in your life, remember to trust God and to have fun. Because it's really easy, and I do the same thing where I get so focused on what's next. And I forget that this is supposed to be the best time of my life. You know, I'm not going out and partying and doing anything crazy, but I should be enjoying it. I shouldn't be working myself to death and, you know, working 9 to 5, going home and working and then turn around and killing myself on the weekend. Like, there should be some joy in this time in life. And in worrying about your future, there's only so much you can do, you know? You work hard, you do the right things, and you trust that God's going to work out your future. And I believe that. I believe that in my own life, and I believe it for you as well. So this is supposed to be the best time of your life, your 20s, you know? You're never going to feel better than right now. And so trust that God's going to take care of your future. Don't worry so much. And enjoy this time with your friends. So in closing, the greatest challenge in young adulthood is becoming an adult. It's that transitional period. When you're a kid, there's not a lot of pressure. And when you become an adult, 100% of the pressure of life is on you. My thoughts, if the pressure is a lot on you right now, keep working hard, trust God, remember what your goals are, and have fun. You're doing an awesome job. I believe that. Don't let the pressure get you down. Don't let it get you stressed out. You're going to make it through this time, and you're going to end up on the other side with your goals accomplished and what you wanted done. That's it for this episode. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. To keep up with everything we have going on and get updates, follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, the AfterYouth Podcast, or on Instagram and Twitter, at AfterYouthPod. If you enjoy the content we put out, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. This helps us reach more people with what we're trying to do, and we would really appreciate it. Thank you for listening every week, and we will see you again next Friday.